What's up, dudes? Chooch back with another video. And today we're gonna be talking about the KingSong S18 and the Inmotion v11. And I know everybody out there is like pretty much blown away at the fact that they're even releasing a unicycle with suspension. I know as soon as I saw that they were releasing the Inmotion v11, man, I was just like, wait a second, is this even true? And then I saw like all those first renditions of it where it was like, it looked extreme, where they had like actual real like springs in the side of it, like 4 of them. And everybody, I mean, I thought it was complete like bullshit. I didn't think that they would actually make an electric unicycle that had suspension in it, like for the consumer market. I thought it would always be something, you know, that people would do DIY style and stuff like that, and that would be the limits of it. And one reason I thought that is because as soon as they started releasing these things with suspension, it's going to up the game so much, you know. Like with any sport, any hobby, anything like that, you know, it just keeps accelerating, and that's how every year at the X Games, you know, it's going to eventually get to the point where you can only spin so many times on a snowboard, you know, you can only throw so many backflips on a dirt bike, but I mean, you think it's going to stop at 2 backflips, or you know, it's going to stop at 3, but it just keeps progressing. And that's what I love so much about motorsports and technology and stuff like that. And with these things, man, having an electric unicycle like the Inmotion v11 starting off, I mean, I thought that was just incredible, you know, air suspension, everything like that. And then when they released the rendition of the KingSong S18, I was just like, dude, I mean, it can't be real, you know. This is something that somebody made at KingSong. They probably spent, you know, $5,000 in parts just making it, you know, just by the way I'm looking at it. And I was just like, there's no way, dude, that they're actually making this thing. So, I mean, it's actually a real thing now, and it's come true. I know people have made videos on it. You've seen Kuji riding around on it. I got some footage from KingSong. They sent me of Kuji riding around. I'm gonna put in this video, overlay it. 100% disclosure, they sent it to me. I really don't want to use his footage. I'd much rather have the unicycle myself to go ride on and everything like that, but the time will come where I can test it, and I'll definitely get my hands on both of them to just show you guys, because they're really cool, man. I think that's gonna up the game. It really is gonna make jumping way better. It's gonna make just everyday commuting just so much more relaxing, you know. I know just people are talking about it being a safety feature, and it absolutely is a safety feature, you know. You can, the whole thing with these things is you can set it to your weight, you know, and get it really dialed to your style. We'll have to see when it comes out, like how well this actually works, you know, and I think it'll take a while to get it dialed in exactly how you want it. You know, it'll take a few rides to really get the feel you want, and I think you'll have to adjust for off-road riding as compared to city riding, because it's basically like with a mountain bike, you know. You kind of lose some of that momentum. That's why people like to lock their shocks on the mountain bike. Say lock their front shocks, so you don't lose that power, you know, when you're pedaling, because a little bit of that power is transferring through those shocks. And on this thing, it's going to be hard to tell, you know, if it's going to mess with the range at all. It could, you know, it really could affect the range when you're riding off-road and having to compensate with the shock or whatnot. You know, we never know what this is going to do to range. And one thing that kind of concerns a lot of people with these is the speed which they're going at, you know. 31 miles per hour. A lot of guys like to ride faster than that. Pretty much everywhere I ride faster than that. But the reason I think they're releasing it at 31 miles per hour and they're not releasing one, you know, to say that goes 40 right off the bat with suspension, I think it's so everybody can kind of get a feel for it, get used to it, whatnot. And I think these are a different market than the unicycles we're riding right now. Say the M Super Pro, that's for like long range commuting, long range riding. That's for like, if I want to get on it from my house and ride it all the way, you know, through traffic, through miles and miles to the trail, and then ride the trail and then ride back home, that's what the M Super Pro is for. That's tons of battery. It'll get you there, get you back. That's 1,800 watt hours. With these, you know, I think this is something that you bring to the trail. Like if you want to go, if you know some really good trails to ride or something like that, or a cool little BMX track you want to go try out, this is the wheel you bring out there to it, you know, in your truck or whatever. Have fun on it, rip it, whatever. It's kind of a different, I think it's going to be a different, whole kind of different market for this thing, you know. And this is gonna be something that brings over the one wheel guys, I guarantee you. It's gonna bring over a lot of people from the e-skate community, guaranteed, because this thing looks so much cooler than this. See, I brought out the original right here. This is where we've come in 5 years in these things. This is the original little Air Wheel X3 right here. And 5 years ago, or I should say 6 years ago. 6 years ago, this was the hottest thing. You know, this is whenever this was out, and then the 9-bot 1 E Plus came out, and everybody was just ranting and raving over this thing. And then you see where we've come from. This is 7 miles per hour top speed, and then this right here, this is the fastest unicycle on the market. This is the M Super X 100 volt. You can get 49 miles an hour on this thing. We went from 7 miles per hour to 49 miles per hour in 5 years on these things. So there's no telling where we're going, and I mean, they're advancing so fast with this. I think personally, and I think I can speak for a lot of people, the KingSong S18 just looks cool as shit, man. That unicycle, I mean, it looks, I mean, it's sweet. I mean, I thought the Inmotion was cool, and I was like, man, I gotta have that thing. That thing would just be cool just to ride around town, just the way it looks, you know, before I saw the S18. And then I saw the S18, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's really sweet, you know. I think, I mean, there's no way to say, these things, they aren't the coolest looking things in the world, you know. I love electric unicycles and stuff like that, but it's pretty much plastic shell, a wheel, you know. It's not the coolest thing in the world, you know. It doesn't look like something like, I mean, arguably, I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for it, but the one wheel is like, you got a solid little frame, like a board style, you know. With this, the S18, man, I think a lot of people that mountain bike, a lot of people that are like into sports cars, motorcycles, you know, people that especially ride Ducati, stuff like that, they're gonna look at this and be like, what? Dude, I gotta check that out, you know. I think it's gonna bring a lot of people into electric unicycles that thought they were just kind of goofy, you know. Some people do. Some people think they're kind of goofy. You got to be a special type of goofy dude to ride these things, or goofy gal, you know. You got to be. I mean, I think you got to rock it, you know. These things, it's definitely different, you know, and especially in the United States, you know. Like, I'm the only one in my town really that rides. I mean, I think there's maybe 2 other people that ride around here, but like, in Denver, when I first started riding, I was the only one, you know, that was riding around on this thing, 7 miles an hour, beep, and it literally beeps. I mean, it takes an idiot to do that for a year, dude. I was riding this thing around, beep, 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 dude, just like, people look at me like, dude, he's lost his mind, you know. But I think they're coming a long way, and I think you're going to start seeing a lot more people riding them now that suspension's introduced, because not a lot of people like to ride with their knees bent all the time, and that's one thing I started doing quickly, you know, because I got sniped by some potholes starting off. I really did. I got sniped by some potholes, and then I went out to the skateboard park, and I realized you cannot ride these things with stiff legs. You know, if you go up to a jump or something like that, you really got to go into it like you're riding a dirt bike. You know, you got to preload, you got to have your knees go down with it, and you got to flow out of it. You know, you've always had to do that, and I don't think that's going to change. I think, you know, the riders that really want to ride hard, that want to take the BMX tracks, you know, that want to do jumps like that, I don't think it's going to hinder you in any way. You know, I think you'll still be able to definitely use your legs as shock absorbers, just like on a motorcycle. You know, that's why you stand up, you know, riding a motorcycle through the woods or whatever. Your knees are shock absorbers, and you also have shock absorbers in the motorcycle. So I don't think it's going to, everybody's saying, you know, oh, my knees are plenty. You know, I think adding that little bit of shock absorption there is going to be, I mean, it's going to be great. I think it's especially off-road trail riding, you know, riding these things over roots and rocks and everything like that. I think it's going to be incredible. You know, it's going to be unmatched riding these things. So one of the main things that I did early on is on the M Super V3S, I took it immediately to the skateboard park, you know, and that's where I mean, I lived right next to a skateboard park in Denver Skateboard Park. It was absolutely fabulous to go over there and ride around. And one day I got a little bit too excited, and I went all the way back in the got out in the street, and I was like, y'all clear out the way, I'm coming in hot. And I came ripping around the corner, and I hit like one of the biggest kickers there. And when I landed, I ended up bending the axle on this thing. So you see right here, this actually bent up, and the shims right here dug in and pretty much made this thing unrideable. And I didn't really realize, I mean, it rode okay, but one side was extremely loose, and I was just like, I'd just gotten it, man. Like, I I moved from the Gotway ACM, and then I got the V3S after that. And the V3S was just so much faster than the ACM, and I was just like, man, this thing's sweet. I was having so much fun on it. This happened, and I kept riding it, even though the side was loose, because if one pedal hanger on these things is loose, you can still ride it, you know. But it's not safe at all. You really need to tighten it up. And I was ripping in front of the convention center, going probably about 38 miles an hour, pretty much top speed on the V3S. And I was a little bit lighter at that time. I could get the V3S really moving, and the pedal hanger, it came completely loose and ripped through the side of the plastic right there, and it just like launched me off of it. And it's just because you got to respect these things. If you got something loose in it, you need to fix it. You know, you just can't keep riding it or whatever. And I was an idiot about that. So this suspension will help that. You know, it'll prevent the axle take in, you know, however much you weigh plus however far the distance is you're falling out of the sky on any given jump, and it won't translate into a bent axle, you know, because this, you have to get a whole new motor. Unless you know how to like rethread this thing and go about all this. I tried to literally bend this out, retap it, and use a tap and die set. Never worked. So that's what suspension will prevent, you know, is stuff like that from happening. Because it's tempting, man. These things are fast, you know, and like taking them to skate parks is fun. And the next thing they got to do is fix the 45-degree cutoff, and we'll be able to really rip these things around motocross tracks and whatnot, you know. Let's run down some specs on the KingSong S18 right now. So it's gonna be 1,110 watt-hour battery. That's pretty high. It's not nearly the highest out right now. It's gonna be decent. We're gonna see pretty good range out of these things at 31 miles per hour. You got to think about that. The reason we saw a ton of range out of the KingSong 16X, it's limited to 31 miles per hour. You can purr on that thing. It's incredible range. So you'll probably be able to get a good bit of range out of this thing, honestly. The 18 by 3 inch tires on these are great. That's, I mean, everybody in the EUC world saying that they absolutely love that tire. First time I tried it was on the 16X. I really do like the 19 by 3 inch tire. It really is the best. It feels like perfect combination in between the skinny tires and then the Z10 tire, you know. Z10 tire is way too big, you know, and then going down to like this tire on the KingSong 16S, that's just too skinny, you know. The 16S is super nimble if you want to do like little tricks and stuff like that, little backward spins and little pop shove-its and all that stuff. That thing's fun. But that's for just general riding, 19 by 3, definitely the way to go. And they just released that they're gonna, like 2 days ago, they just said that they're only gonna release a black version of the 8. They got so many names for these things. The S18, I don't know why that is. A lot of people like the white version, you know. I personally like the black wheels because I ride them hard, and I don't clean them every time I ride them. I know I should, but the thing is, I think a black wheel just looks better because it doesn't get dirty as easy. So I'm glad they're, if they got to do that, and we can get them at a lower price because they're not making 2 colors, so be it, you know. People can paint them, do whatever they want to do. And I don't know exactly the reason why they're just doing black, you know. On the S18, you're going to have 30 more millimeters of vertical travel on the shock right there. So on that adjustable Fox shock. And I think that's on the S18, I'm pretty sure the shock on the back is the exact same shock for most mountain bikes, you know. I don't know exactly what inch tire mountain bike that would be. I think that's how they judge those mountain bike shocks. But I think, you'll be able to just buy one offline. Say if you want to rock a Fox shock in there instead of whatever brand they ship you, I think you'll be able to buy your own shock, pop it in there, and it should fit. You know, I think they're using just a standard mountain bike shock in there, which is super cool, you know. If you got a different brand you want to go with, you can do it. And the V11 though is going to be like, it's going to have air suspension. So on the bottom, I think like right around this area on the V11, you're going to use an air pump. And you're just going to pump it up. You know, getting that dialed in is going to be kind of odd, you know, and I don't know exactly how that works. I don't know how many pounds you're going to have to put in there, but it's going to be all done with a hand pump, air suspension on there. And it's going to go in somewhere in this area. I think it'll go in like under here, under the pillar. And let's see. So for battery and range, the Inmotion v11 is going to have an additional 20 LG M50T 18.75 watt hour 21700 type battery cells. Okay, so battery and range broken down in layman's terms. I'm not going to go into the whole thing about how many cells and packs and whatever. In layman's terms, the V11 should net you about 12 more miles, you know, of standard, just average cruising, you know. So that's about, the V11 is going to have more battery power. So how much more? How much more, you ask? It's going to be 1500 watt hours. V11's 1500 watt hours. KingSong S18 is going to be 1100 watt hours, okay? Both of them 21700 cells. Let me show you the difference in 21700 and 18650. You probably know, but let me show you. This is 21700 cell flashlight right here. This is 18650 flashlight over here. I'm going to turn this one up as high as it'll go. So you see the difference. This is a visual right here, and these are pretty much equivalently priced lights. 21700 cells, 18650 cells. I'll show you real quick the difference in them. And this is a game changer in itself in the unicycle world, you know. So this light lasts forever. So this is the 21700 cell, and then this is your 18650 right here, and you just see the difference in size on these things. I mean, it really is like substantial. So anyways, dudes, 21700 cells are the way of the future. You know, these things are great. I don't think I've charged this light since I bought it, and it still shines bright. So this is great. So anyways, that's the difference right there. And both of them are rocking them. But so it on the KingSong S18, it's gonna have 60 of those that I just showed you to power. On the V11, it's going to have 80 of those that I just showed you the power. So the difference, 20 cells. Max cruise speed, like I said, 31. Motor power, you're going to have more motor power on the S18. So the KingSong S18 is actually going to be the second most powerful unicycle ever produced. And it's going to be a runner-up to the M Super Pro. M Super Pro, 2500 watt motor in it. The S18 is going to have a 2200 watt motor in it. Inmotion v11 has a 2000 watt motor, which is pretty much standard. That's what the MSX is rocking. That's what a ton of unicycles are rocking, is the standard 2000 watt motor. And personally, the 2000 watt motor isn't bad, man. It really gets it for most riding, most hills and stuff like that. Unless you're doing extreme off-road where you're really climbing stuff, I mean, you do notice it. M Super Pro, hands down, shreds the off-road, you know. But this, for standard riding around town or whatever, I think 2000 watt motor is, I mean, it's great, you know. So we'll have to see the difference in these to really understand which one's better. System voltage on both of them, 84 volts. I've ridden, this is the 100 volt M Super right here. I've ridden the 84 volt, and you really cannot tell much difference. I got on my buddies and I had no idea it was 84 volt. Rode it around for a little while, and I was just like, and he said something about 84 volt, and I'm like, wait, I'm like, yours is 84 volt? He's like, yeah. And it's really hard to tell the difference. Unless you're really gunning it, you can't tell the difference much. So 84 volt, I think, is going to be fine on both of these. Both of them have a good retractable handle on it. Both of them have a USB charging plug. Both, I think, yep, 1 2 amp. So they're going to have 1 2 amp charging plug on it, which, of course, I mean, 2 amps isn't the fastest in the world, but it'll charge your phone up in a pinch. And I love that unicycles have the charging port on it. I've pretty much ripped them out of every one of mine because I put my phone in my pocket with the cord, and then I fall or either just do something stupid and the USB port rips out. But I'm glad they put it on there, and it's wonderful until I tear it up. So anyways, the for motor disengagement, the S18 is going to have a handle sensor, so when you lift it up, the motor will turn off without having to turn the unicycle off. For the V11, it's going to have a button contact, just like the Gotway M Super Pro, where you got to actually just take your thumb, stick it on the button on the side, and when you pick it up, it'll disengage the motor. So pretty much pedal length, ground clearance, probably want to know that. So your pedal length right here for the S18 is going to be 9.5 inches. But at the lowest point of spring, this is something, this is pretty key. You don't want to be snagging, so you don't want to set your suspension too soft. This is one thing I immediately thought about. So if you're doing trail riding and stuff like that, clearance is everything, you know, and that's one thing I love about the M Super X, M Super Pro, those really flared up pedals. And I mean, you have the same clearance all the time. With the suspension, you got to think you can actually go down, you know. And if you're coming around a corner, your suspension drops, and you snag a rock, you know, you're going down. So at the tallest point on the S18, tallest point when the suspension's all the way up, it's going to be 8.27 inches off the ground. So that's pretty high up. And at the lowest point though, it's only going to be 4.3 inches off the ground. So once that travel goes down, I mean, there's 30 millimeters in shock travel, but on the actual pedal travel, that's a good bit, you know. And 4.3 inches off the ground isn't much, and you can hit most rocks if your suspension's all the way down. And then on the Inmotion V11, your pedals are 5 inches shorter. They're going to be 9 inches long, and at the maximum height of suspension, it's going to be 6.3 inches off the ground, and at the lowest point of suspension for the V11, it's going to be only 3.5 inches off the ground. So you have to really consider that, you know, whenever you're cornering, anything like that for pedal snags. And I know the Inmotion's V10 was way off the ground, and I don't know the exact height, but it's substantially higher than it's way higher than 3.5 inches, you know. So the lowest point, you got to consider snagging that pedal on both of these. For the charger, for the S18, you're going to have a 2.5 amp 84.2 volt standard charger, and then there'll be a 5 amp charger available for the S18, which is cool. I don't think it's going to have 2 charge ports like the 16X and the KingSong 18X. You know how they have 2 charge ports? I don't think this one's going to have 2 charge ports. I think it's just going to have a 5 amp charging option. And for the Inmotion V11, it's going to have a 1.5 amp 84.2 volt charger. So the amperage on the Inmotion charger that you get standard is substantially lower. Your charge time is probably going to be higher, way higher on the Inmotion right out of the box, but there is a 5 amp charger available for both of them, you know. So one thing that's been rumored is a battery pack for the KingSong S18, and they're thinking about an external battery pack in some way. And looking at the model, I can't really tell where we go. The only thing I could really think of is that top shroud at the top right there. That plastic piece pops off in some manner, and then you can put the battery under there. And I think one reason they did this, I think there's room under that. I think there's room in there for this battery. And I think one reason they did it is because a lot of people that want to go off-road riding, like I said before, that take their wheel to the trail and want it to be lighter for jumps and everything like that while they're there, can do that. But the people that want to ride to the trails or whatever can throw that extra battery on there, get a lot of range out of it, take that bad boy off, and then they can really get the benefit of that suspension, have some fun on it, rip around. And I think that's the reason they did that. I really hope there's an external battery pack, just like 2 screws, or just real simple to pop in there for the S18. That will be everything. That will be the reason to buy the S18. I think, you know, I think that will completely shun the V11 if they do have an external battery option. And they're saying up to 780 watt hours, which, dude, I mean, that's sweet. And if at 780 watt hours, you got to think that's if you've ever held a 9-bot 1E+ battery, that's basically 2 of those things. And that's kind of heavy, you know. That's not the lightest thing in the world to throw in a backpack, but it's not terrible, you know. I think it's manageable. You probably can't throw it in a little sling bag or one shoulder. You'll have to have a backpack for it, but I think it's definitely manageable. For the KingSong S18, it's going to be 48.5 pounds. And again, that comes from, I think, like I said, that option to have that external battery you can pop in there. 48.5 pounds is substantially lighter. That's almost 10 pounds lighter than the Inmotion V11. Inmotion V11 comes in at 59.5 pounds. So that's a heavy wheel, you know. 59.5 pounds, that ain't light. So and then going down, let's talk about price on these things. So KingSong S18 is going to be $100 less announced. And I saw some rumors or whatever that the V11 may be like $2,200 instead of $1,900 or instead of 2,000. On e-wheels, I know it's going to be 2,000. $1,999 on e-wheels, and then for the S18 on e-wheels, it'll be $1,899. I'm not sure about other sites, but I know the people that have already put their pre-orders in, and as of right now, that's how much it's going to be. I saw some things though on Facebook and on the forums that the V11 could be $2,200, but I have no idea. If you go ahead and put in pre-orders, you're not going to be paying $2,200. You'll be paying the $1,999 for that. One thing that the KingSong lights, I think, is one thing about the KingSong headlights. Talking headlights real quick, because both of them got some sweet lights on them for sure. People that ride the 16X know this. If you're going under a tunnel or something like that, your light will automatically pop on. You know, even if you're riding in the day or whatever. And the first time I saw this, I was like, whoa, like what's up with that? But KingSong is doing all kind of cool stuff with the headlights, and they got some sensor on there or whatever that is just the text. How much light is. So if you basically go down and light, it'll brighten the headlight. If it lightens up, the headlight will dim and whatnot. So, and the S18, it's called the unique high beam, low beam headlight that dips when there's oncoming light source. So the illumination on them is going to be way higher. I don't know why these manufacturers finally figured out that headlights were important, but basically let's say after the M Super X, after the first gen M Super X, they just started making these headlights crazy bright. Like the M Super Pro headlight, man, it makes people mad riding that thing around. Like, that headlight is so bright on that thing. And I think it's good. I think we're going to see headlights getting brighter on these things. And the tail light on the S18 is sweet, man. It's that little like outline or whatever. I think it's really cool. But the you got to think the tail light on the V11 is just a little bit bigger. I think it'll stand out a little bit more. That's one thing, I mean, that I really noticed. I love the retro look of the S18 though. Man, I think they did good, like, on the design of the thing. It really is sweet, man. I never saw that coming, man. Like, I gotta have the S18, man. I don't know. I hate to be biased on it, but I think the S18. I think the S18 is the way to go, man. Like, I don't know. I've never ridden an Inmotion though. I've literally the only wheels I've never ridden. I've never ridden a Nikola, and I've never ridden an Inmotion, any type of Inmotion before. I mean, I've even ridden like Monster solo wheels, one wheels. I've ridden the air wheel, the 9-bot, KingSong, everything, but I've never ridden an Inmotion. So I'm kind of biased, you know, to KingSong, I guess, in that point. But we'll have to see. We'll have to try it out. So one thing that I'm actually thrilled to see on these things is the fact that both of them have a mudguard built in right off the bat. You don't have to buy one, you don't have to 3D print one, and you don't have to do what I do with all my wheels, make one out of a solo cup. And if you got, so I ended up breaking all the 3D printed mudguards I got. I broke all the ones that you could buy just when I crashed. So what I ended up doing is, this is an idea I probably shouldn't give to the world, but you know, here, I'm gonna give it to y'all. This works fabulous. So on the back of your unicycle, if you need a mudguard on any of the M Supers, this probably doesn't go for any of the KingSong. It might work for the 16X for sure. But on all the M Supers, this is the way to go. You just take this bad boy, put it right on the back, duct tape it on there, right over the fender, and then you're good to go. You can put more duct tape. I put more duct tape on it, and then I put reflective tape over it, and so it looks all professional, and it looks like it should be there. And then if it comes off, it's just a solo cup. But on these, they actually thought shit through, and they're like, hey, people might ride through a mud puddle one day, and the street could be a little bit wet, and people don't want to throw whatever's on the street on their back. And they finally put mud guards on these things, man, which is awesome. So that's one awesome thing. And the if you look at the KingSong S18, it's like an internal mud guard that goes all the way around. It's like a plastic mud guard all the way around the internal wheel, and then your shock is pretty much on top of that, so you don't have to worry about water and like whatever's on the road, you know, nasty stuff getting all over your back, your backpack, or whatever. I know it's happened to everybody that's bought a M Super and taken it out for their first ride. They were like, okay, I got to do something because I'm covered in mud now, or water, or whatever it may be. So that's really cool. The biggest difference on these two is the style of shock. On the KingSong S18, you got a 100mm travel air shock, standard mountain bike shock. All seen it, we know that. Over on the Inmotion V11, we got independent air shock, which is 70 millimeters of travel. This is going to be a mystery to everybody. Well, nobody's ever seen suspension on a production unicycle, but air shock like that, just an internal air shock, you know, we never know how that's really going to be. It might be really different, you know. I don't understand how it's going to work. I don't know what the internal air shock looks like on the Inmotion v11. That's one thing that we haven't really seen, is a breakdown internally of it. We don't know what the chambers are going to look like. We don't know how big they are. We don't know how sturdy they look. That's one thing we're gonna have to wait to see, you know. And so one thing I want to see before buying it, you know, I want to see how thick those chambers are, you know, because if it's just some thin aluminum chambers, you know, and you just tank a jump at 30 miles an hour and it blows it out, then, you know, what's the point of having a shock? So looking at the two right now, the one I would probably go for, the one I would buy with my money, is the KingSong S18, in hopes that they release that external battery pack, you know. For the guys out there that want to get that extra range and stuff like that, maybe the Inmotion v11 is better for you if you're riding to work. If you're using it as a commuter tool every day, maybe go with the Inmotion v11. I think for most people, you know, that have wheels already, that have a long range wheel, that just see these new suspension unicycles coming out, I think most guys are going to go with the KingSong S18. I mean, I hate to be biased on this. Both companies I know make great products, and I'm not being paid by KingSong to say this in any way, but if I had to go put money right now down on one to pick up one, I would go with the KingSong S18. By looking at it, by what I've seen, the only way to really tell is to ride both of them. So I'll get that to y'all as soon as possible. Get on these things and get some tests done. I really can't guarantee, you know, how fast I'll get them, but as quick as I can, and we'll do some tests. Anyways, dudes, it's been Chooch. If y'all enjoyed the video, throw it a thumbs up, and I'll see y'all on the next one.